Groovin', positively powerful. Scott Fitzgerald here with my ever so dreamy co-host, Stacey Steinmiller. I love the
Hello.
background today, Stacey. You're rocking. It's like a dream. It's like what's that movie with oh, now I can't remember. Someone just talked about the movie yesterday. I stink. Oh, it was
No
there was
idea.
this
No
guy,
idea.
this guy, and he was in this boat, and it was all like I can't remember it now.
So descriptive, Scott. So
Yeah,
descriptive.
it was that movie about the guy in the boat with all the stuff. You don't know what I'm talking about? Come
There's
on.
about 10 different movies just came
Life
to
of
my
Pi.
mind.
Life of Pi.
Oh, yeah.
Life
Life
of
of
Pi.
Pi.
It has
Okay.
that
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
that kind
Life
of
of
animated look behind. Anyway, so full disclosure once again, because I'm all about being real. This is live, as in it's playing live right now, but it was recorded yesterday. So if you do have questions or you want to interact with us, you can drop it down in the comments below, and we will respond at some point. Stacy's probably going to be all over that, but
yeah.
I won't be.
I'll be around at 10 a.m. tomorrow. So, uh, yeah.
Awesome. So today I wanted to talk about, and this is really personal for me because I am greatly affected by my surroundings, by my space, by, and more specifically, by the organization or lack of organization in the space that I'm in. So if there's a lot of chaos going on around me, be it from people or just disorganization or just stuff, it really affects my mood. It affects how effective I am in whatever I'm doing. It affects a lot of things. So I wanted to talk to you about, you know, how your surroundings really do affect your deep inside, your energy, and how we can, maybe take some steps, because you can't always control the environment that you're in,
Right.
but you can control yourself. So wanted to talk about that with you, and see, get your insight on that.
Yeah, totally. And that's a good point. Like sometimes you can control your outside environment, like cleaning up your house or decorating, or, things like that. But or like you're saying, if you're in a space, maybe with a lot of people and you're just there and you have to accept that, then that's where learning how to come in into our own energy and not letting that energy be as affected by the outside world is a huge skill to have. So you can kind of come into that inner sanctuary instead of feeling pulled by the
Yeah.
wind, yeah, of the outside
Yeah,
world.
I used to be fine with big crowds of people and going to concerts and things like that. And in my old age, I have become less into that,
Mm.
less agreeable to a lot of people in a small room. And I don't know, I want to say that maybe the pandemic had kind of pushed that further along or quicker than it normally would have evolved, but either way, I'm not a big fan of crowds, especially in a tight space. If it's outside, I can deal. Even if there's a lot of people and you're walking through a crowd or whatever, you're outside, there's a sky, I can kind of deal. But when you're in a room and there's like, I don't know, I remember shooting weddings, and the one wedding had so many, it was like I think they were Egyptian, and it was like a 500 person wedding. It was insane. And I was like, how do you even navigate through this sea of people? And I started to kind of feel myself, you know,
Mm.
possibly having what I would think was a panic attack. I didn't get to
Mm.
that point, but I could feel myself like going, okay, if I don't control this, I am going to flip out. And
Mm.
my kids, both of my kids, 2 out of 3 of my children have that where their anxiety levels spike when there's a lot of people and a lot of overstimulation happening
Mhm.
from their environment.
Yeah. Yeah, it affects a lot of people. So a lot of it is knowing what those beliefs and thoughts are going through your head, and that takes a bit of work usually for people to become aware of. Most of the time, people say, like, I wasn't thinking about anything. Um, but you are thinking about something, you have some sort of belief, and usually stems deep into some sort of, yeah, obviously lack of control, which relates to a feeling of lack of safety. So that's usually an area that I dive into with people of recognizing that the feeling of safety comes from yourself and how to exercise that and develop that within you.
Hmm. Yeah, I there were times. So we just thinking about how old my kids were. I want to say that they were maybe 9 years old, and one of the big problems that we have in this country, mass shootings, mass
Mm,
shooting, active shooter situations. Obviously, in the last 15 years, have spiked incredibly,
mhm.
and there are some people who that it doesn't bother them. They're like whatever, or they don't think it's a problem. I'm not sure, but me, when I was out with my kids, and this could just be my own innate like protective feeling as a father, as a parent, but and that if you have children, no matter what they're doing, you're always like, it doesn't matter how old they get too. You know, my son goes on a road trip and I'm like, be careful. He's 22. He's going to be 22.
Yeah.
It's like you never lose that. And I just remember we were at one of the local farmers markets or farm things, and I was with my middle child is on the autism spectrum, so at the time I had to it was hard to leave places that she
Mm,
liked. So it was like, all
yeah.
right, we got to get going, and there would be a big behavior and stuff like that. And so and it was right around the time, I don't remember. I think it was Newtown that happened recently, because it was a lot of kids that were involved in that. And
Yeah.
I was trying to explain to them that when we're in a situation, I'm like, I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but I need you to listen to me when we're out in public, because I never know what's going to happen. And if I tell you we have to go now, it's
Mhm.
not a question. It's not we have to go. We have to go now. And I think ever since that time, even if my kids are with me or not, I've had that sort of latent anxiety of being in a big place with a lot of people. It's just stuck with me ever since that, because I think I just really got into the headspace of thinking of what those people went through in those
Mhm.
situations where they were trapped and there was someone shooting a gun and there was no place
Yeah.
they could go. And obviously, I'm taking this to a really extreme level,
Right.
as opposed to just not liking crowds, to
Which is fine.
being afraid of a shooter. But I'm trying to illustrate the point that I don't know if that affected why I have this sort of anxiety about spaces like that with a lot of people or not. But either way, I'm still going to have to utilize the same skills that you're talking about to try to overcome that in some way, with my own getting into my own head or soul, or whatever energy, like we like to talk about, to figure out how I can kind of psych myself out and be like, all right, things are okay. You don't have to
Yeah.
freak out. Don't think of, don't expect the worst. It's like you can't always sit there. If you expect the worst is going to happen all the time, you're going to live a miserable life. So, so
Right.
you kind of
Yeah.
have to,
There's a choice there.
yeah,
Yeah.
you have to start breaking that if it happens. And I can feel it every once in a while. I feel that urge, like, all right, I'm kind of not feeling at ease. Like, I don't
Mhm.
know why, but I'm not feeling at ease. So what is it that I should be doing in that situation, or what's the best way for me? Obviously, without going and sitting
Too
cross-legged on the
deep.
floor and lighting incense in the middle of a room or whatever.
I mean, that works too. Well, so like a core belief that I think I was hearing from you was the world is unsafe, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know if I'll go as far as to say I'm paranoid, but yes, there. and having kids is what, bringing kids into that situation is what kind of heightened it for me. Yeah. So
Yeah.
definitely a safety thing.
Right. So this is becoming aware of where that core belief and recognizing that that belief is then engaging in certain behaviors and feelings as a result of that belief. Whereas if somebody had the core belief that the world is safe, um, you would say they probably would have a different experience, right? If that
Yeah,
makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So then it's really showcasing how it's about our belief that is then causing the feelings instead of the outer reality. Because if the beliefs change, then our behaviors and feelings change. And I'm not saying that one is right or wrong or so forth, but this is just coming into a higher level awareness of what's really going on, of that the outside world is just that's what it is, and everything else is really a projection of our own belief systems onto the world.
That's that's a theme with me, isn't it?
With everybody, you're just
With
actually willing
everybody.
to talk about it, which I think is awesome, which
Yeah,
is why I like doing this with you,
yeah.
because you'll say the things that everybody is feeling and thinking, but they don't realize that everybody else is also feeling and thinking these things because most of us don't say it out loud.
Right.
So I think that's really helpful for people to
Yeah.
hear.
So really the kind of the trick is, and I guess this was obvious, but I didn't think about it. But it's kind of a going into the situation. You're going to a place where there's a lot of people, where it's a crowd, or whatever the situation is, and you have to approach your belief structure at that point and say, all right, yes, I have this terrible feeling about being in public, or it's not safe or something. So you kind of have to try to change that and be like, okay, I recognize the fact that I believe that it's unsafe, but it probably is better than, or safer than I believe. Or you know what I mean? Like, to some sort of a mantra to try to repeat to myself, like, no, it's gonna be fine. It's
Yeah, I
safer than
mean,
I believe.
and you don't need to necessarily convince yourself of something that you don't believe, because that is usually really hard. But if that is a thing, then okay, if I truly believe this, then what action steps do I then take to support myself in feeling safe? So that would maybe look like you're saying, a an exit strategy or a plan or taking classes, or whatever that is, then you feel like you're supporting yourself in your belief system, and that's okay. You don't necessarily need to change that belief. Um, but if you have that belief, that it is important to act in accordance of that belief so that you're showing up in the world congruently with those beliefs, if that makes
Hmm.
sense, right?
And
You know?
I just realized as you're talking that my intention for what we were going to talk about has kind of drifted a little bit
Really,
into
I guess it has, isn't it? Yeah.
into more of like a fear of bad things happening out in the outside world, as opposed to which, and I guess it's all kind of related, because it's related to your physical environment. um but what I my point was more about clutter and
Mm.
disorganization and chaos, and because if you could be in a place with, like, so if you go to a theater, right, when I'm in the theater, in the auditorium theater, and what's it called now? It's like got a different, can't remember what it's
That
called.
one downtown. Um,
Yeah, yeah, they got a new sponsor name anyway.
mhm.
um go there, and when you're in the seat, when you finally get into the showroom where the seats are, it's for the most part it's organized, right? There's rows,
Mhm.
there's aisles, there's ushers. If you want to get up, you have to go a certain way. It's not a free for all. When you go out into the lobby area where they have the drinks and all that kind of stuff, especially during intermission, forget it. It's a shit show. You know what I mean? There's people everywhere, and you're walking up and walking down to go to the bathroom, and it's just nasty. It's just craziness. And so, when there's order and a lot of people, I'm okay. But when there's chaos and a lot of people, that's and maybe I just saw too many movies of like people getting trampled because of riots or something, of
Okay. Yeah.
like everybody's running from a giant ape or something, and but anyway, I digress. But it's just that idea of chaos versus order,
Yeah.
and it's the same with just in this room that I'm in right now. If it gets to a point where I'm working that just I'm busy, and I take something and I put it over here, and then I'm doing something and I move on to this thing and I put that over here, and by the end of the day or by the end of the week, I've got a pile of things everywhere, and I start to notice that I'm a little bit more on edge. I'm a little grouchier. I'm short with people. And why is that? And they say, "Are you okay?" Yeah, yeah, I'm fine. I don't know why I'm acting that way. Oh, because I look around and there's chaos around me in the room that I'm in.
Right. But I'm also hearing when you tell that story that it started because your mind was already in chaos to begin with, right? And so the
That could very
outer,
well be. I didn't see that specifically, but that could be why the room is in chaos, because my mind is in chaos.
right, like you said, got something out and then you didn't put it away because you were like on to the next thing or thinking about 10 things at once, right? So it's like your mind is in that chaos. So then that outer reality just kind of becomes a reflection of that, right? Whereas when you slow down and you're more still and you give yourself permission to do one thing at a time, right? So you put the thing away and then go on to the next thing, then yeah, you are in more of a clear state of mind, and then your external surroundings then reflect that state of mind.
So basically what you're saying is like what my parents used to say: slow down and put your shit away. Like, put your toys away, Scott. Like, put your stuff
Yeah.
away before you move on to the next thing.
Yep.
And for the most part, I
Exactly.
try I try to do that, especially with the studio here and the equipment that we have, and a lot of it's expensive, and a lot of it, if you leave it out and it gets stepped on, it's going to be, it's bad. Especially now when, camera prices are going to triple. But that's a different story. That's a different episode. Um
um, yeah.
that whole idea of, maybe that is something that I should incorporate into my day more mindfully, is, do I have to rush on to the next thing, or is it something that I can say, just give me a minute, I'm going to fold this up and put it back, and then we're going to start, and we might start 2-3 minutes late, but we're going to start. That way
Right.
I'm not on time, which, hey, that's, we're all happy it's on time, but now I've got this added chaos that's just going to add to the disorder and to the jumble, and that's already all the voices that are already in my head. It's scary. I know. It's very
Right.
scary.
And you'll actually find that by slowing down, you will more likely to be on time. I think that's a thought fallacy that if I slow down, I will be late. Because in my experience and my experience with people I work with is it actually tends to be the opposite, because you're going to have less mistakes and less distractions
Mm.
that then make up for that quote time. And then if you're calm, time starts to function. I know this is going to sound really weird, but your experience of time changes as you slow down and become more mindful and presently focused. And the other thing I wanted to say too, like you're saying around the equipment, like you can anxiously put equipment away around fear of it breaking, or you can lovingly put equipment away because you care about my cat is joining.
Aw.
Um, hard,
Like your little
hard
kitty.
discussion.
Well, you got a little
Yeah.
kitty. Now, see, maybe that's the answer. I just need to have cats in the studio.
And that can be a thing, but they might knock a bunch of stuff down. So again, it's an acceptance sort of situation. Maybe it's also to train that acceptance as shit gets knocked down all the time.
Right. Right. And now I've got two litter boxes that I have to clean, the one at home and the one at the studio. I don't think the studio cats would be very nice cats because they'd be
Why
alone
is
for
that?
like the whole
You could
evening.
bring the same cats back and forth.
Oh
Bring your
my
cats to
God.
work.
I can't imagine that. I tried bringing my dog here and she's so needy. I know cats aren't as
Well, yeah.
needy. Well, so
Maybe you're right.
is your cat needy? How many is that the only
Well,
cat you have?
have you been hearing him meow the entire
No,
time?
I
He
haven't.
likes to be he
Zoom's
likes to be
echo
needy.
cancellation has been
Yeah.
doing that.
That Zoom is so great. I know I do love that.
Anti-cat filter.
It really is, yeah. And it's helpful when there's like trees getting cut down and all that fun stuff. But he seems to like to be needy when he knows I'm
When
busy
you're
and
busy.
doing something.
Yeah.
He likes attention. He likes attention. So, you know.
Well, those are the good kinds
Anyways.
of cats. The
Yeah.
good kinds of
Yeah,
cats like
he's
attention.
not cuddly though, and that makes my heart hurt. So.
You know, it's funny because I have two cats and they're both like vastly different. One is bold, the other one is afraid of everything. But the one that is bold rarely will jump up on my lap, where the one that's afraid of everything will jump up on my lap all the time.
Hmm.
But as soon as I shift myself to go like to reach for something, he's gone. He's like, oh, what's going on?
Yeah.
But I like
Yeah.
cats.
They're great.
We got
Yeah.
we at least we got that straightened out. But you were talking about putting things lovingly away or putting them away for fear of them breaking and stuff like that. And I would kind of meet you halfway with that, kind of in the middle and say I'm always lovingly putting things away specifically so that they're in the right place so I know where they are next time, but also so that they don't break.
Yeah, yeah. It's just more of like what I say, it's the energy behind the action, right? So it's
Once
less
again,
about like you're still putting right, yeah, the energy behind the action
and we
versus the
should have
action
named
itself.
the energy behind the action because I think
Yeah.
that's the ongoing theme is the energy behind the action. So here's a question for you. Is it, I don't want to say, I'm sure it's possible, but how effective do you think it is when you go into it? Like, let's say I'm going into a situation, hypothetically, I'm going home, and in the rare case that my house is messy, I go home, but I know I'm going home to a mess. So I put myself in a better energy state, like to go into that mess and be like, all right, I know I'm going into a mess. I know that I don't like the mess, and I'm just going to deal with the mess, or I'm going to ignore the mess. Like, what's the energy? What's the energy that you would use to deal with that situation?
Yeah. Um, so, and when you were talking about the theater and the chaos and so forth earlier, I thought about this then. So yeah, expectations, right? And I'm not referring to the expectations of it being a mess or not, but rather the expectation of should or shouldn't, right? When we have like it shouldn't be this way expectation, then that causes suffering because when we're in it shouldn't be this way, we are not in a state of acceptance. Um, so yeah, so I think that is also at play in
That's
these
interesting.
topics that we're talking about that I wanted to point out. Yeah, resistance, which would be it shouldn't be that way, which is why resistance is suffering. When you resist reality, you will always be in a state of mental suffering.
Huh. So what's the adverse to that? Like, it shouldn't be that way. What, just it
It
is?
is. It is.
Regardless
Yes,
of your opinion
it
of it, or
is.
regardless of what you think should
Right.
be or shouldn't be, it
It
is what it's
is.
like. I don't like that phrase, it is what it is, but that's kind of what you're saying, is that you go in with saying this is what it is, and as
Right, or
long as I
just
don't have
yeah.
those
I just
expectations,
like it is.
it
Because then
is.
Yeah, which is
It's more definite.
it's not unempowering, it just is. It's
Right.
just
It is
also
what it
like I
is kind
am.
of disempowering, right? It's because now you're powerless over it. It is what it is. There's nothing you can do to change it.
Right. Versus
Interesting. I
it
never thought of that.
is. So now you're actually in a powerful state when you say it is because you are accepting reality. And if you don't accept reality, then there's no agency, and you're also living in an illusion, in a falsehood,
Huh.
right? From the projections of your mind on what you think should be. And so then your ego is just completely at play here versus the simply it is.
Wow. That's deep. And
Yeah,
that really reaches to or speaks to where we are in our society and our world. Like there's a
right.
lot of it is that people can't deal with.
Right, exactly. And a lot of people are in resistance, so they go around in their suffering and complaining and projecting their suffering onto other people, and then trying to control and contour everything outside of them, which is outside of the control, instead of actually becoming aware of any of the shit that we're talking about, which is why we are talking about it, right? To bring that awareness to the world.
Yeah. I mean, while I wouldn't encourage you go into a singing career, I would say that your points are well accepted. No. Um that's a really great way to kind of tie this all together is it is and it's not it is what it is. It's that acceptance, it's that rejection of I mean, wait, let me tell is this wrong? If you reject resistance, is that a resistance in itself? Am I getting too like double negative here, or
Right.
getting into
Yeah, I would
the
say simplify it. Just
metaphysical
simplify it.
equations here?
Release resistance.
Release resistance.
Yeah, because then also when you it's like, well, what is also the it's the idea of getting to that underlying just, yeah, what is I am, things like that. So yeah, you're taking off the expectations, the stories, the emotions, the meaning, because all meaning comes from you, right? So yeah, so it's just releasing those layers. Yeah.
I learned something today. Now let's see if I can retain it because that's always the big question. Hey, where's the song? Oh, there it is. Take a deep breath and remember who you are. This was great, Stacey. I really appreciate it. Oh, and you got
Oh
some cool
yeah.
things happening, don't you?
I do. So I just decided this today. I'm starting a new, very, very low ticket program. It is starting at $5 a month into my membership. This is the base of my membership that used to be free, so it's going up to $5. Any of my current clients are just automatically in it. But this is a space for leaders, creative entrepreneurs, mentors to come in. I'll be putting random journal prompts, bringing wisdom, reflections, behind the scenes, and a place for people to connect. So I'm upping the energy potency in there, and the entry level is $5 a month.
And let me tell
So
you, that is a bargain because imagine a place like Facebook where everything is positive and everything is like everybody's your cheerleader and
yeah,
everybody is trying to help you. It's like this fantastic community, but it's laid out a lot like social media. So, you
yeah.
can, what does it say? You cheer things instead of like.
Yes, instead of
Yeah,
like or love, it's a cheer.
it's a
Yeah,
cheer,
yeah,
and you can make posts and you can ask questions and people can respond and give you their take on stuff, and there's no judgment. I love it. It's great. $5 is a
yeah.
deal. It's a
It
deal.
sure is. I'm so
Yeah.
excited.
And speaking of deals, we have a couple of openings here at Rockvox where if you have a small business or even a medium-sized business or a large business, screw it, you can come to you can come to Rockvox and start taking some of that marketing power and putting it into a podcast, and we can help you do that. And we have a couple of openings where you can come in and do a weekly podcast and you pay monthly, and it's the best savings because it's by volume, and you get X amount of studio hours per month, and we kind of spread it out over the year, and it's really, really affordable for a small business. And I know you've all wanted to start that podcast you've been dreaming about, so now's your time to come to Rockbox, and we have 2 studios to choose from, and lots of cool things going on here. So
Ooh, exciting.
we both got to plug. Fantastic.
Yeah. Love
All
it.
right. Well, so until next time, positively. Did I say it right? Positively powerful. Yes, I got it right.